Russia's skies were supposed to be unbreakable. So why do drones keep getting through? Missiles costing millions are burning through reserves, refineries are catching fire, and public trust is cracking. One redeployment decision left an entire region defenseless. A hidden cost is quietly bankrupting the system. Somewhere, a single failure changed everything. And it started with one missile that failed.
Executive summary and core thesis. For years, the world believed Russia had one of the strongest air defense shields on the planet. Layer after layer of radars, missiles, and jamming systems were supposed to make the country untouchable. But something strange keeps happening. Drones are slipping through, striking deep inside Russian territory again and again. At first, this looked like a few lucky hits, but the pattern tells a bigger story. This isn't just about a few missed drones. It's about a system built for a different kind of war. Russia's defenses were designed to stop big, expensive threats, like jet fighters and ballistic missiles. They were never built to handle swarms of cheap, small drones hitting from every direction. And that mismatch is now costing Russia far more than it ever expected. So how deep does this problem really go? Stick around, because what we uncover next might change how you see this entire war.
Tactical defeats. S-400 and Panzer systems exploited. Let's start with the hardware itself. Russia's S-400 missile system and its Panzer short-range defenses are supposed to be the pride of its military. These are the machines Russia has shown off at parades for years. But in real combat, something has gone wrong. Ukrainian forces have repeatedly struck these very systems, hitting launchers, radars, and command units. Why does this matter so much? Because the S-400 was built to shoot down fast jets and long-range missiles from far away, not to defend itself from small, slow-moving drones sneaking in close. Without proper short-range protection, these multi-million-dollar systems suddenly become sitting targets instead of untouchable shields. Imagine a fortress with tall walls but no guards watching the back door. That's essentially what's happening here. And once one of these advanced systems gets taken out, it's not something Russia can quickly replace. So what happens when your best defenses become your biggest weaknesses? That's exactly what we're about to explore.
The cost asymmetry trap. $10,000 drones versus $2 million interceptors. Here's where the math gets brutal. A single Ukrainian long-range drone can cost as little as $10,000, sometimes $50,000. Now compare that to what Russia spends to shoot one down. A single interceptor missile can cost between $1 and $3 million. Think about that for a second. Russia might be spending 100 times more to stop a drone than it costs to build it. Over weeks and months, this adds up fast. No factory, no matter how big, can keep producing expensive missiles fast enough to match cheap drones being launched over and over. This is called a cost asymmetry trap, and it's a problem money alone can't fix. It doesn't matter how rich or powerful a country is if the math itself is working against them. So here's a question worth thinking about. What happens when the cheaper side simply refuses to stop building? We're about to find out.
Radar blind spots and low-altitude saturation. Russia's radar systems are built to look far and high into the sky, watching for fast jets and incoming missiles. But drones don't play by those rules. Many of them fly low, hugging rivers, valleys, and open fields, staying just under the radar's natural line of sight. From far away, some radars can't even tell the difference between a drone and a bird. And here's the real problem. Russia is enormous. It stretches across 11 time zones. Covering every low-altitude route across a country that massive is nearly impossible, even with billions of dollars in equipment. It's like trying to guard every window of a house the size of a small country using only a handful of guards. Some gaps are always going to exist, and once attackers learn where those gaps are, they can use them again and again. So if the sky itself has blind spots, what does that mean for everything Russia is trying to protect on the ground? That's next.
Industrial bottlenecks and microchip sanctions. Every time a radar or missile launcher gets destroyed, Russia has to rebuild it. But rebuilding modern military equipment isn't like fixing a car. It requires advanced microchips, precision electronics, and specialized tools, many of which come from Western countries that have placed strict sanctions on Russia. Yes, some of these parts still make their way in through other countries, but it's slower, more expensive, and often lower quality than before. Imagine trying to build a smartphone without access to the newest chips. You could still make something, but it wouldn't work as well or as fast. That's essentially the situation Russia's defense industry is facing right now. Sanctions haven't stopped production completely, but they've created friction at every single step. Replacement parts take longer to arrive, costs keep climbing, and quality keeps slipping. So how long can a military machine keep running smoothly when its own supply chain keeps breaking down? Let's dig deeper.
The tyranny of distance, overstretching strategic coverage. Here's a decision that reveals a lot about priorities. To protect Moscow, the capital, Russian leadership pulled many air defense batteries away from other regions and stationed them tightly around the city. On the surface, that makes sense. Protect the center of power. But this created a serious side effect. Regions outside Moscow, including important military airfields, energy facilities, and industrial hubs, were suddenly left far less protected. Picture a family that puts all its security cameras on the front door, but leaves every window in the house wide open. That's essentially the trade-off being made here. Protecting the political center meant exposing the economic and industrial backbone of the country. This wasn't a random mistake. It was a deliberate choice under pressure. But every choice has a cost. So what happens when the parts of the country left undefended are the same parts keeping the economy alive? That's where things get really interesting.
Economic consequences. Refineries and shadow fleets under fire. With air defenses stretched thin outside major cities, something predictable started happening. Key economic targets became exposed. Ukrainian strikes have repeatedly hit oil refineries, including major facilities that process crude oil into fuel. They've also targeted shipping networks tied to Russia's oil exports. Why does this matter so much? Because oil and fuel exports are one of Russia's biggest sources of income, helping fund the war itself. When refineries get damaged, fuel production drops, exports slow down, and even everyday people inside Russia can feel the effects through fuel shortages. It's a bit like a business getting robbed of the exact tools it uses to make money. The very system meant to protect these assets simply wasn't strong enough to cover them. And when a country's main source of income starts taking direct hits, the effects don't stay hidden for long. So how does a government explain this to its own people? Let's talk about that next.
Information control and domestic political friction. For a long time, Russian state television painted a picture of a war happening far away, fully under control. But smoke rising near major cities is hard to hide, and even harder to explain away. As strikes get closer to home, cracks are starting to show, not just in the defenses, but in the message itself. Pro-war military bloggers, some of the most vocal supporters of the war, have started openly criticizing the government for failing to protect key infrastructure. That kind of criticism, coming from supporters rather than opponents, is a big deal. In response, authorities have leaned into stricter media control, even restricting people from filming drone strike aftermaths. But here's the tricky part. You can control the cameras, but you can't control what people see with their own eyes. When official narratives stop matching visible reality, trust starts to erode. So what happens when even loyal supporters start asking hard questions? That tension isn't going away anytime soon.
Global export market collapse and defense prestige. For decades, Russian air defense systems like the S-300 and S-400 weren't just military tools. They were a global selling point. Countries around the world bought them, trusting they were nearly impossible to beat. That reputation helped Russia build billions of dollars in international arms deals. But reputation is fragile. When these same systems start getting destroyed on camera in real combat, it sends a very different message to potential buyers. Would you want to buy a security system after watching it fail repeatedly on the news? Adding to the problem, Russia has reportedly started redirecting equipment meant for export back into domestic use, since it needs every system it can get. This opens the door for competitors, especially Western and Asian defense manufacturers, to step in and win over new customers. Military strength isn't just about winning battles anymore. It's about maintaining trust on a global stage. And trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild.
Conclusion and strategic narrative arc. So what does all of this really tell us? Russia's air defense struggles aren't just about a few missed drones or unlucky strikes. They reveal something much deeper. A powerful, centralized military system struggling to adapt to a completely different kind of warfare. Cheap, fast, decentralized drone attacks are challenging a structure built for a different era entirely. Russia now faces a difficult choice with no easy answer. Keep absorbing damage to its industry and economy, or keep draining its financial and military reserves trying to stop every single attack. Neither option is comfortable. And this pattern might not be unique to Russia. As drone warfare spreads across the globe, other nations may soon face the exact same dilemma.
So here's a question worth sitting with. Is this the beginning of a whole new era of warfare? One where the biggest, most expensive military isn't always the strongest? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.